Well, good afternoon and a very happy Monday to everyone. Coach John Kentera on the John Kentera Show here on YouTube, San Diego Sports Talk. Today, normally we try to do this in the morning, but we wanted to hold off because we wanted to hear what A.J. Preller had to say. He had his final meeting with the media for the 2024 season to break it down. And we're going to get into all that. And we're also going to look ahead to 2025. Now, I want to remind everyone we're doing 3 of these a week. Now, I will apologize. Last week, I got a pretty good virus, and I wasn't up to par. I was on the IL, and I wasn't able to do a show last Wednesday or Friday. But, hey, we're back at it. We'll have another show coming up on Wednesday morning, folks, at 10 o'clock. So hopefully you'll join us then. But I want to remind everyone, we're taking this through the offseason, and we're going to keep you up to date on everything going on with the Padres and everything else going on in San Diego regarding the sports world. But if you're tuning in maybe for the very, very first time, we would very much appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and all because of you great fans out there, quite frankly. And really appreciate the tremendous support that you give me no matter where I show up. And very much appreciate that. So if you would subscribe, I want to get to your questions today and comments maybe from A.J. Preller's media briefing. Also, you can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera, and you can follow me on X at Coach Kentera44. And I try to return every one of your messages. I'm pretty good about that. Some guys hit that delete button or they read and they never return stuff. I'm pretty good about getting back not only getting back, but getting back in a very timely manner. So if you've got something you want to bring up to me, maybe not on the air, but off the air, I'm always there for you. Okay, we're going to get into AJ, and he was a couple minutes late. He was on a phone call. Boy, that was a shocker. But you know what? There were a lot of things that were asked to him, quite frankly, if you didn't hear it, that he really didn't have an answer for. And, he gave an answer, but really didn't give an answer. And what I mean by that, there are so many things that you have to go through at the end of a baseball season. I don't care. It could be your little league team, your pony league team, high school, college. There's so many things that you have to go back and reevaluate and make decisions on. And a lot of the questions he was asked, I don't think he was really trying to avoid the question. I don't think he really knows. Now, maybe, down deep he knows, but he hasn't met with his staff. And he gave his staff a lot of credit today. He really did. But a lot of the things he was asked, he goes, well, we'll know in a couple of weeks. Now, I want everyone to mark this date down. When the World Series is over, free agency basically begins the following day. But you're not eligible to sign ball players until 5 days after the World Series. And on the West Coast, you'd go by West Coast time. So 5 days after the World Series at 2 o'clock Pacific time, free agency can open up. Of course, 5 o'clock on the East Coast time zone. So remember that you can start negotiation with players after the final out, basically, or the next morning. But a lot of times they'll wait till the clock hits midnight, man. They'll make that phone call. And believe me, there's a lot of things that go on long before that. There's talks going on right now. Certain guys know where they're probably already headed. But that's the way it works. So as soon as the World Series is over, you can begin talking officially to agents and to the free agent ball players, but nobody can sign until 5 days after the World Series at Pacific time zone, 2 o'clock. Okay, so you understand that. Now, AJ was asked so many things, and really the first thing he was asked, how did you look at 2024? He goes, overall, it was a good season. He brought up, hey, we're here to win a championship. And that's what you're supposed to say. I don't care if you're even the Chicago White Sox general manager. You got to stand up there and say, hey, we want to build a championship ball club and win a championship. And he said it was overall a good season. He accredited it's a great organization that has been put together here in San Diego. He talked about the front office and the analysts going over a lot of different numbers to retool the team for 2025. One of the things that I thought was really interesting, and he didn't come out and say guys didn't perform, but he was asked about why did the bats go so cold against the Dodgers? And, one of the things he said was, hey, number one, you got to give the Dodger pitching staff, especially the relievers, a lot of credit. They're darn good. And I think we saw that throughout the course of the playoffs so far. They were pretty dominant in the way Dave Roberts used them. But he gave the Dodgers a lot of credit that their pitchers did a great job. But he also talked about, and I think this was a key point, and for people that maybe aren't familiar with hitting mechanics, he talked about the Padre players probably needing to use the bigger part of the field. Now, that means working up the middle and not trying to jack everything. You know, I had a lot of baseball people that were actually scouting that series in Los Angeles. They were there for the first couple of games, and they were there for Game 5. And they told me it really looked like the Padre players were trying to, a lot of individual at bats, guys trying to take the ball out of the yard rather than just, kind of do what they'd done most of the year, being very unselfish, hitting the ball the other way, use the big part of the diamond. Especially now that the shift's no longer in play. You don't have that guy right over a second base. Now, a lot of them shade towards second base. But, man, whenever you're in a slump, man, you got to work the middle of the diamond. And AJ said also, when you're in a series and you go 0 for 8, it's so magnified. But if you go 0 for 8 in the regular season, you go 0 for 8 and it's not a big deal. And guys go 0 for 20 sometimes. But in the postseason, everything is magnified. But the bottom line, Dodger pitchers shut the Padre hitters down when they had to. Okay. He also talked about Peter Seidler's legacy, and he said it was really in the back of everyone's mind about what he had built here, what he wanted, what his vision was, and that was a big motivating factor. The other thing that he talked about, and I think we would all agree on this without a doubt, this team seemed to be a very good group of guys, a very close group of guys. And I think you got to give Mike Shildt and his coaching staff a lot of credit about that. He talked about having faith in his coaches, manager, and the players. And I think, this is a good ball club. It's a good ball club. I don't know if it's a good enough ball club presently to win a World Series. I mean, when you're starting to take a look at some of these teams, my goodness gracious. This New York Yankee team coming in to play the World Series, they're pretty talented. I don't know how good they are on the mound once they get by Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. I think they're beatable. Dodgers obviously have had a lot of problems with their pitching, but they've kind of found a remedy to how to get by against quality opponents. The New York Mets are good. The Phillies are good. Padres are going to have to make some moves, but they had a really nice year. I mean, hey, let's face it. They had the second best regular season record in Padre history, 93 wins. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a hell of a year. Disappointing year because you didn't get to where you wanted to go, but it was a good, solid year. And there is something to build on. And AJ talked about that today, that there's something to build on. But he talked about having faith in the players, the coaches, and the manager. And, we're going to get into the manager and the coaches a little bit more later on in the program, because I definitely want to talk about that. And I also want to talk a little bit about AJ and where he goes from here, because his contract will be up after the 2026 season. But I want to talk a little bit about Joe Musgrove's injury. He was asked about that. Now, you got to remember, the Padres have some free agents they got to deal with. I mean, Profar, he's not going to play for $1 million next year. Now, he ended up making more than that because he reached every one of his incentives, I believe. You got Profar. They're going to have to find out right after the World Series about whether or not Ha-Seong Kim's going to pick up the mutual option or not. I would tend to think not, since he hired Scott Boras. Maybe Boras, because he has a good relationship with AJ. Maybe they'll work out a deal. But again, Ha-Seong Kim is coming off labrum surgery. And, will he be ready for spring training? I don't know. And AJ talked about that. They're going to monitor that. You don't want to sign a guy if he's not going to be able to maybe be with you at the beginning of the season. Padres need to keep guys healthy, and especially at shortstop. And we're going to get into the shortstop situation a little bit later on. But he was asked about Joe Musgrove's injury and obviously the disappointment. And Joe, I'll tell you what, Joe's not letting the Tommy John surgery keep him down, man. He's been all over the place. Him and his girlfriend were out at the zoo the other day. Him and his buddies were out to lunch last Friday. And that's good. And Joe's a San Diego guy. He loves to be out in the community. And I know it's just gnawing at him that he's going to miss all of 2025. But AJ was asked, how are you going to deal with Musgrove? And he goes, well, we're going to look internally and we're going to look outside the organization, meaning free agency, trades possibly. He said we're going to look all over. That means they're probably going to look in Asia as well, whether it be the KBO or over in Japan or somewhere else. They're going to look for help, but I don't know how much money they're going to have. I mean, remember Tanner Scott's a free agent. I think Tanner Scott. I can't imagine him being back in San Diego. But they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do to replace Joe Musgrove. And he also talked about Matt Waldron and Randy Vasquez. Both guys at times pitched very, very well. I think Matt Waldron, more than anything else, he ran out of gas at the end of the year. Randy Vasquez did a very, very nice job. But these guys are going through it at the big league level for the first time. Matt Waldron, do you think he expected to get as many starts as he got and log as many innings as he did? Absolutely not. He'll be better. He'll be better because he'll be able to train better during the offseason, having gone through it one time. I'm not giving up on Matt Waldron. Now, he may not ever pitch for the Padres again as a starter. Maybe he comes out of the bullpen. But I'm not giving up on him, and I think he'll be better. I mean, if he's the fifth starter, believe me, you could do a lot worse. Randy Vasquez, he's got a good arm. He just got to continue to learn how to pitch and not be a thrower. And get himself out of poor mechanics. Don't let it go 5-6 pitches. Make that adjustment after a couple of pitches. That all comes with experience and not being afraid to throw strikes. A lot of times guys at the big league level, really at all levels, when they're moving up, they try to miss bats. Man, you got to challenge people. You got to hit your spots and make those guys swing the bat. A lot of hitters are dumb, man. They'll get themselves out. But you got to give them that chance. But you talked about they're going to look all over for alternatives. And maybe Martin Perez, who finished up really well, maybe he comes back. Left-hander. Wouldn't hurt the Padres to have a left-hander in the rotation. It wasn't talked about, but how about Adrian Morejon? They gave that kid a lot of money as an international free agent a long time ago. He's had a lot of injuries. He pitched well this year. Do you try to get him in the best shape of his life and get him out there as a starter next year? You tell me. I'd like to get your opinion on that. But they're going to look all over for a replacement for Joe Musgrove. Okay, interesting question, really towards the end of the Zoom meeting, was asked about Xander Bogaerts. And I think most of you know how I feel. I'm a big Xander Bogaerts fan because I'm about mental makeup, and I think he's got great mental makeup. Has he played like the all-star here in San Diego the first 2 years that he played like with the Boston Red Sox? Absolutely not. Now, I will tell you this. In 2023, I thought he finished the season very, very well and made up for some lost time. But this year, he had the injury. Remember, he dove and injured his shoulder and missed a considerable amount of time. He came back, and I don't think he was ever in the best shape of his life. I even said, and I don't like to comment about weight problems, and I don't think he has a weight problem because I've always deal with my weight ever since I was a little kid. But I think he needs to get himself in better shape. If he wants to really compete for that shortstop job, and that's going to be a topic here in a minute, he got to get himself, I think, in better physical shape. And, I think if he gets himself in better physical shape, I think his hands will get a little bit quicker. And I think he'll get back to, hitting 17 to 20 home runs. Because right now he's not the same player. He can still hit the ball the other way and drive it up the middle, but he's not the same player for me. But AJ was very confident, even though Xander's 9 more years here in San Diego, he's very confident because of the work habits that Xander has, that he can have a great offseason, get completely healed up, and come back and return to all-star form. Okay? But AJ was not willing to commit Xander to being the shortstop for 2025. Okay, so there you have it. And again, we're taking your questions. Just type them in, and we'll get them up on the screen here before too long. What to do at the shortstop position? Well, variety of things here came up. Number one, the status of Hassan Kim. I'm figuring Kim's gone. We'll wait and see. And again, he's coming off an injury. Xander Bogaerts, you could move him there. But the other thing that came up, and I knew this was going to come up, and I brought it up, not so much about bringing Fernando back to shortstop, but what about Jackson Merrill? He's not too far removed from playing shortstop. AJ said that they're going to have conversations with the manager and the coaching staff. He didn't say that he ruled it out, but it didn't sound like he was going to jump up and down and beat on his chest and say, "Yeah, we're gonna try that." And we know how the Padres work. They very well have already probably talked about it internally, and I think most of them would probably say leave Fernando in right, and let's maybe give Jackson an opportunity to take some ground balls or tell him to work out a little bit, and we'll take a look at him in spring training. But I'll be very honest with you now. Don't rock the apple cart. Don't rock the apple cart. You got a kid that played an incredible center field. And by the way, he wasn't one of the finalists for the Gold Glove. By the way, the Padres didn't have one player a finalist for the Gold Glove this year. When you look around, there were only two guys, really, in my opinion, that probably factored in. I think Jackson Merrill factored in, and I think Manny Machado factored in. Nobody else, Fernando missed so much time, he wasn't going to win it for a second straight year. And again, last year he won the Platinum Glove for the best defender in all of the National League. But Jackson Merrill, boy, what a year. What a year. And I think, let him focus on continuing to grow as a center fielder. You got right field locked down for many, many years. I do believe the Padres are going to work on getting Jackson Merrill a long-term contract, whether it's before the start of this year. And how the Padres work, just before spring training, they'll hold a press conference in Peoria, and they'll probably make that announcement. But you know what? It may not be this February in Peoria. It may be a following February leading into the 2026 season. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think they're going to work on a long-term contract with him. But you know what? The way this press briefing went today, I'm not sure the Padres have their shortstop for 2025 the way I'm looking at it right now. I really believe that because AJ really made no commitments whatsoever. Okay, manager and coaches. I think we'd all agree Mike Shildt did a hell of a job. And he may end up being the National League Manager of the Year. There's a couple other guys. I'll tell you what, this Carlos Mendoza, that guy from the Mets, he's a damn good manager. I really like him. I like him a lot. He's a really good baseball guy. I think our old guy, Pat Murphy with Milwaukee, I know he inherited a team from Craig Counsell, but did a good job with the Brew Crew. I think he's going to be in the running. I think it could be Mike Shildt, Pat Murphy, or Carlos Mendoza. I was really impressed with Mendoza. Not only was I impressed with him the way he ran a ball game, but I was very impressed how he dealt with the media. He's not afraid to give other teams credit. And, it's such a tough game. It's such a tough game. And when guys perform, you got to give them credit because, both teams, I don't care who you root for, both teams are out there laying it on the line. But I really like Carlos Mendoza. I think he's going to have a very, very nice career as a major league manager. Mike Shildt, getting back to him, 1 year left to go on his contract. When he was hired last year, he got a 2-year deal. 1 year down and did an outstanding job. Yeah, second best record in franchise history. Are you kidding me? There have been some pretty good ball clubs here, but 93 wins. That's pretty damn good. And you take a look at what he did with the Cardinals, did a good job. Got let go there on philosophical differences. Boy, we've heard that before, haven't we? You got to extend him 1 year. You got to extend him 1 year, maybe with an option for 2027, possible, mutual option for 2027. But, let him know that he's going to be here next year and the following year. And that matches up with A.J. Preller's contract. To me, I want the manager and the general manager to be locked at the hip. And it seemed like they were locked in at the hip this year, and they were in stride perfectly with one another. Can't say that about Bob Melvin and A.J. Preller. Can't say that about Bob Melvin and Jace Tingler. I think that, or I should say A.J. Preller and Jace Tingler, that relationship eroded rather quickly. And then at the end of the Andy Green 4-year era, that eroded big time. So A.J. got his guy. And his guy did a hell of a job this year. So you give him a 1-year deal, maybe with a mutual option for 2027. Now, the coaching staff, I don't know who's coming back. I don't know who's coming and who's going. But I will tell you this. 2 guys they got to keep. They got to keep Ruben Niebla. And I know Ruben last year got some a little bit of run about possibly being a major league manager. And I think he'd like to be a major league manager. Who wouldn't? You develop more headaches, but at the end of the day, you want to run your own ball club if you get that opportunity. And Ruben may be out there again this year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But his contract's up. Kid from the Imperial Valley, got a beautiful family. They spend a lot of time over here in San Diego now. I think you got to lock him up. Give him a 2-year deal. Give him a deal with Mike Schilt and with A.J. Preller. Give him a nice 2-year deal. That's what I would do with him, without a doubt. And don't pay him in the bottom third. You got to up the ante. I mean, let's face it, the Padres pitching staff last 3 years have been pretty good. They've been pretty good. So I think you got to take care of Ruben Niebla. And then the other guy, and I don't know what his contract was originally, but Victor Rodriguez, who came over from Cleveland. Hitters did a hell of a job. I don't care what they did in the postseason. They did a hell of a job. I mean, these guys are not robots. They're going to have bad days. Unfortunately, they had bad days when they needed to win 1 out of 2 games and they couldn't do it. So I think you got to get him locked up. Preller's future with the Padres, here, I'll be very honest. I don't know where this franchise is headed. Eric Hatsenda, who I talked about a week ago, he was named the interim chairman of the Padres. I don't know what that means. And you know what? He probably had a good time, I would think. There's always headaches when you run a team. I don't care if you're the owner, the chairman, the general manager, the business manager, or the towel boy. There's always problems running a ball club. I mean, right when you think things are going well, something happens. But Eric Hatsenda, who was, forever a partner with Peter Seidler, took over on an interim basis last November. Now, is he going to stay there, or are they going to hire somebody else? Eric Grupner's the president and handles all the business stuff. Could he move up, or is he going to stay in place? AJ, obviously, director of baseball operations and general manager. I'd like to know, number one, what Eric Hatsenda plans to do long term. Are they going to bring somebody else in that maybe doesn't know squat about the organization? I think you leave it the way it is right now for the time being. But again, Eric Hatsenda may not want to be in that position forever. So, you kind of got to wonder exactly long term, where the Padres are going to be. And I think Mrs. Seidler loves taking the kids out there. She loves being a part of it. But again, I mean, does she really want to be involved with Major League Baseball? We'll have to wait and see down the road. But as far as A.J. Preller is concerned, I think next year is another big year. How are you going to bounce back? Are you going to you got good core players. We know that. But are they going to perform? You go back to 2022, they had the great run to the NLCS, and we're all jumping up and beating our chest and already mapping out the parade route down there on Harbor Drive for 2023, and they don't even make the playoffs. And then this year, they had a hell of a year, and they, got beat by the Dodgers in the NLDS. What is 2025 going to be? It's unknown. But if you go on what the Padres have been doing, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, what are they going to do in 2025? I'm optimistic they're going to be able to retool this ball club, but they're not going to be able to win with the same ball club. They've got to up the ante. And A.J. Preller, I think he sits with that 2026 deal. He has a good year next year, boom, he gets a nice contract. But if they miss the playoffs, then you're going to have to make a tough decision. How about if this team, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, how about if this team, finishes 2 games under 500 next year? Or they finish over 500 and miss the playoffs. Now, if they finish over 500 and miss the playoffs, then you got to take a good hard look at it. But if they finish under 500, then you're going to have to make some decisions, because you're not going to send your general manager into the final year of his contract and the manager into the final year of his contract coming off a losing season, because that'd be what they like to call, and I've never believed in it, but they call it lame ducks. And the players know that they're on the hot seat, that the manager and the general manager are on the hot seat. So next year's a big year. This was a big year coming off a disappointment a year ago, especially having Juan Soto on the lineup. And now, man, we got to watch Soto be this big star for the Yankees. Man, he's played great. He's played great. But next year is the year. If they have a big year next year, get to the playoffs again, and even if they were to get beat in the NLDS again, you got to give A.J. Preller credit. He's getting that team there consistently. I'm not going to be satisfied till they win the damn trophy. Or as Rob Manfred say, a hunk of metal. Okay, so I think you give your manager a 1-year deal, with a mutual option for 2027. And then if you decide to let the general manager go at the end of 2026, you can let the manager go as well if you want to bring somebody else in. But I'm not going to give these guys long-term contracts right now. I got to see more. That's basically what I'm saying. I got to see more out of these guys. Okay, and I got to see more out of the players as well. Some of the other things that came up, and if we got any comments out there, just type them in and we'll get them up to you. AJ talked about ability and stability. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm all about, you got to have ability, but you got to have stability. You can't move guys in and out all the time. And I mean in more coaches than I am players. You got to give guys an opportunity to, develop relationships with ball players. He also talked about free agency and really didn't get into that a whole lot regarding free agency. I think the Padres right now, they don't have the ability to go out and make a major move. They've also, I would think, and what was their budget this year? About 177, 178, somewhere around there, $178 million. I think with everybody that's going up, I mean, Fernando's going to make $20 million next year. He was making, I think, 11 this year. Plus, you got your arbitration eligible guys, and you're going to have to sign some free agents. I mean, just your own free agents. What do you do with Kyle Higashioka? What do you do with Profar? Tanner Scott, I think, is going to be out on the free agent market. If Hassan Kim turns down his mutual option, Padres could still re-sign him, but it'd be for a higher figure. He's due, I think, on that mutual option to make about $10 million. So, it's going to be interesting. So I would think, and nobody talked about it, and they're going to tell you, well, we don't have the budget set yet. It's got to be at $200 million, unless they start, dropping guys or trading big money guys. I don't see any of the big money guys going. The only guy that I could see go would be Cronenworth. Cronenworth, if you look at his numbers, they were just miserable towards the last 3 months of the year. And then the postseason is 3 for 22. I mean, just a disastrous postseason. So that was about it. And then they got into talked about the farm system, talked about amateur international scouting, the developmental staff, and really said that right now he feels good about the farm system, AJ does. But with all the trades they made this last year, they're going to have to work on replenishing the pitching down in the minor leagues. But he feels pretty good. Ethan South is playing in the Arizona Fall League. He's performing really well. I don't know if you've seen some of those clips. He only hit 206 in high A ball last year. But the guy can catch and throw. He got a good arm, got quick feet behind the plate, great release time. And he's making really strides so far over the Arizona Fall League swinging the bat. So that's very, very encouraging to this point in time. So if we got any questions, we'll take them right now. Austin Prather, glad you're back on the air, Coach Austin. Thank you very much. I know you're a huge Padres fan, and I know you're a huge Coach Kentera fan. Very much appreciate that. Big Red Journeys, I'm liking bringing Morhone back to the starting role. You know what, Big Red Journey, what do you have to lose on that? You got nothing to lose. And, he showed that he could throw multiple innings. And if you tell him, hey, Adrian, we're going to give you a legitimate shot to win a starting role, there's never going to be a better time for Adrian Morhone to come in and start than this coming year because of the loss of Musgrove and the uneasiness at the back end of the rotation. This would be his year. And by the way, he's arbitration eligible as well. But I think tell him, give the kid a little confidence. Give him a little confidence. Say, man, we want you to be a starting pitcher, but you got to come in and earn it. Ricky Menez, any possible big signing out there? Ricky, not right now. I haven't even heard any rumors or inklings about the Padres. The thing that I'm going to be on the whole time, we're going to talk all the time about the Padres because I got great insight of what goes on with this organization. I got a lot of good information coming. I want to talk. I'm really on this catching thing. This catching thing is bugging me. Now, Higashioka is going to be 34 years old. You can't expect him to do next year what he did this year. It was a career year. Like Profar, he had a career year. You're going to bank on 32-year-old Jurickson Profar to do the same thing next year that he did this year? I probably not. Do I want to re-sign him? Yes, at a very affordable price. Higashioka, 34 years of age, did a nice job behind the plate. Not the greatest of defensive catchers, but he's very playable. Hit a career-high 17 home runs. He never hit more than 10 home runs in a year. He did that 3 years in a row for the Yankees, hit 17, and then he hit 3 in the postseason. I'd love to have Kyle Higashioka be the catcher in a backup role with the Padres, not the everyday guy. And I know you don't have catchers now that catch 135 games like they did years ago. You got to have two guys. And Higashioka could be one of those guys, but who are you going to sign? I don't think you got a guy right now. I don't think Elias Diaz will be back. I don't think they're real high right now on Luis Camposano. He had the job and lost it. So, and I know he's been like the perennial guy that they're going to make their everyday catcher. Well, he lost the job. And I don't know where he's at. He might be really ticked at the organization. Maybe it'd be better to move him. I don't know what you'd get for him. But they got to figure out what they're doing behind the plate. You got to be strong up the middle. Big Red Journeys, you got to keep Tatis in the outfield. It's the only way to keep him healthy for almost every game. He's guaranteed to hurt himself the way he plays if he moves back to shortstop. That right there, my friend, is a great point. That is a great point. I've been saying since Fernando's rookie year, and you recall he missed a ton of games at the end of his rookie year with that stress reaction in his back. And every year, I'm so optimistic. That Fernando's going to play in 160 games. Could you imagine, seriously, if he could stay healthy, the numbers that Fernando could put up, we may never see it. He's never been able to stay healthy. I mean, the best year he had, well, he led the National League in home runs in 2022. 2022, yeah, or no, 2021. He had 42 home runs that year. Okay. But the best year he had health-wise, he only missed one game, but that was the year they only played 60 games. He played in 59 of the 60. But that is a great point. Keep him in the outfield. Yeah, he could run in the wall or collide with an infielder coming out, but the way he plays shortstop, that's not a bad call. WK, move Xander back to shortstop, keep Merrill at center field. I'm fine with that. I think you can win with Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. Like I said, I'd like to maybe drop a little weight. His range was not that bad. Could it be better? Yeah, I think it could be a little bit better. But again, the guy trained all year as a second baseman, and then all of a sudden you had to go over there and eat humble pie and say, hey, can you move back to shortstop because he's a good team guy? And went over there. You don't understand, folks. These players, they all have ego. We all have egos. Some big, some little. But to go back to Xander Bogaerts after you basically said you're no longer the shortstop, you're going to be playing second base. He went back over there, and yeah, he had a couple of bad plays, but overall he was fine. He was fine. I have no problem with Xander. You can win with Xander at shortstop, in my opinion. Richard Flores, so happy to see you back, Coach. Been enjoying you years. Catching should be AJ's top priority. I would think so, along with pitching. Offensively, you got quite a few guys. Offense, I'm not concerned about the offense. I am concerned about Cronenworth because he just, fundamentally at the plate, he looks lost. I mean, his body balance is off. He can't get the barrel hit through the hitting area, getting beat on pitches he used to crush. I mean, he needs to have a good offseason. And again, you got him long-term as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if they traded him. I really wouldn't. We heard that last year as well. But thank you very much. Good to be back on the air and really enjoying our YouTube program. Mark Kirkpatrick, why are they on Zoom, and why wasn't Schilt on it? Well, the last couple of years, they've decided to go that direction. I don't know why. I guess maybe the PR staff and AJ, they put their heads together and decided, we'll make it easy on ourselves. AJ can do it from his office, and the PR staff doesn't have to set up a media room. That's probably why. And, you don't have to drag all the TV guys down there. But to me, it wouldn't have been bad. I don't know where Mike Schilt lives in the offseason, but, it'd been nice to have him. But, again, least of all, they did it. the way AJ answered a lot of the questions sound like they should have had that meeting maybe 2 weeks from now. But that's when free agency will be opening up, because he referred to, the next couple of weeks we got to talk about this and that. But overall, you got a little information out of them today. But yeah, they don't. The last couple of years they haven't done that. Bob Gallione, good guy, good San Diego guy there. Who do you think will win the World Series, Coach? I think I got to go with the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, even though they got their pitching issues, I don't think the Yankees, once they get by Garrett Cole, and I realize Garrett Cole could throw games maybe 1-3-5, or 1-3-7, possibly, I think it was. We'll have to wait and see. Carlos Rodon can be really good. But he tries to throw so hard, he kind of wears himself out. I think the Dodgers, and I thought John Smoltz made up a really good point last night. The Dodger team right now is very similar to the 1996 Yankee team. And we know the 98 team that the Padres ran into, one of the great teams really in the history of the game. But you go back to 1996, and that was a Yankee team that just wore pitching staffs out. I mean, look what the Dodgers did to Sean Manaea last night. I mean, they made that guy throw 1 million pitches in the first 2 innings. And by the time the third came around, man, he was done. He was cooked. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. Now, you got to throw strikes to the Dodgers. If you throw strikes, they could hit them. They got a good lineup. And that was really minus Freddie Freeman. And by the way, I got to mention this. And, Bob, thank you very much. But I got to go with the Dodgers. I think it'll be a great series. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all those big boppers go at one another. And the other thing about that Dodger-Yankee series, you got the Dodger manager, Dave Roberts, a UCLA Bruin, and Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, a USC Trojan. So that's kind of fun to take a look at as well. But, I mean, Freddie Freeman hardly played. He hit 167 in the series, but hardly played. But, you watch these teams play, and they do a lot of good things. That Yankee team's tough. I mean, they got some tough dudes, man. Gleyber Torres, the top of the lineup. Then you get to Soto and, get to Stanton. Boy, Rizzo, I know Rizzo's been playing with a bad hand. He fractured a finger or two. Man, watching him play defense, he's had a couple of rough ones over there at first base. Jesus Gutierrez, hello, Coach. Go Yanks. Okay, I don't see that Yankee hat on your head right there, Jesus. But thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Big Red Journeys. I like giving Shilton the able a 2 to 3 year extension because it gives the ability to know they're together, captaining the ship. Also, our best window for success as it stands right now is the next 2 to 3 years. Hey, Big Red Journeys, I'm not going out on a limb right now. Okay, if they can't get it done next year, I don't know what I'm going to do with Preller and Schilt. If they can't get it done and get back to the playoffs, I'm not saying they got to win it, but they've got to get back to the playoffs. The Padres have to show that they can put back-to-back years together, not every other year. With the amount of money that they've spent and all the acquisitions they've made, they got to show me they can be consistent. That's when it's kind of like a college team. You can have a great college team one year, but that doesn't make for a program. A program is when you win consistently over a long period of time. I want to see the Padres put this program together where they can win on a regular basis a high percentage of the time. I want to be the Cardinals is who I want to be. And I know the Cardinals may be a bad example because they haven't been all that great the last couple of years. But you go back in history, the Cardinals have been very, very consistent. They don't always have these teams that are going to blow you off the field, but they know how to play the game of baseball, and they don't suck where they finish 12 games under 500 every year. Okay, they're very consistent. They're always in the mix. I want to be the Cardinals. We're probably never going to be the Dodgers. We're probably never going to be the Yankees. That doesn't mean we can't beat them. But I want to get to the dance and go in every year. I don't want to get to the dance and left my ticket at home and they don't let me in. Okay, I want to get into the dance and eventually dance with the prettiest girl at the dance. Okay, and I want it to be a slow dance. I don't want to be just out there, doing the shake and bake dance or whatever. Okay, I want to get to the dance, and I want to dance with the prettiest girl, and I want it to be a close dance. But I want to get to the dance every year, and I don't want my ticket left at home when I get to the door. It's the way I'm looking at it right now. Austin Prather, what starting pitchers or free agents this offseason? Who would you like to see us go after? You know what, Austin, I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm sure there'll be some good arms, but again, how much are the Padres going to be able to pay? They're going to have one of their pitchers who's making $20 million a year sitting out. I mean, he's going to be pitching as much as you and I, Austin, and that's our buddy Joe Musgrove in 2025. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do. And again, with Fernando making more money, he's going to make about, I think, $9 more million. You got to re-sign Profar. You got other players that are arbitration eligible. Higashioka's a free agent. Hassan Kim can turn down the mutual option. He'll be a free agent. I don't know what they're going to be able to do, but I appreciate that. Ocean View Coffee Shop. Oh, Ocean View Coffee Shop. I love this one. It was a great season. Thank you to AJ. Yeah, you know what? AJ Preller had the best year he had as a general manager of the Padres. There's no question about it. Not even close. We can go back to 2 years ago when they got to the NLCS and got beat by Philadelphia, but this was a better ball club. That's why I'm so irritated and frustrated, because this was really our year. This was our year because we had the horses and we couldn't get it done. And the Dodgers had all those injuries. I mean, they got 12 potential starting pitchers on the IL for the Dodgers. 12. They used 40 pitchers to get to the World Series this year. This was our year, and we came up short. And that's frustrating. I know it's frustrating to AJ, frustrating to Mike Shildt. Mike Shildt's been around a lot of good baseball. And you could tell Mike Shildt was bummed because he knew he had the horses to win the whole damn thing this year, and we couldn't get it done. Now you got to go back to the drawing board, folks. Got to go back to the drawing board. But it was a very, very good season. Mike Shildt did a nice job. AJ did a nice job. I don't like to say great season until we get to the World Series. Okay, it was a very good season. We still finished in second place. You know, and I keep bringing this up, and it really doesn't matter unless you're one of the top one or two teams to where you get a bye. You know, I would like to win a division title again. We haven't won a division title. Well, when was the last time we won a division title? I guess it would have been 06, right? They won back-to-back in 2005, 2006. Dave Roberts was on those ball clubs. Mike Cameron, boy, those guys, good guys. Piazza was on one of those ball clubs. Piazza was a great guy, too, I might add. But at the end of the day, a very, very good season. A lot of good core players, as AJ brought up today. But you got to retool. And like I said, you can't bring all these guys back. I mean, you can't keep running the same guys back year in and year out. They need to upgrade, even in the everyday lineup. I mean, as good as Profar was this year, there may be somebody out there that is more affordable who can do maybe a little bit more damage. And what I mean by damage, I'm talking about hitting the ball out of the ballpark or on-base percentage. Profar was right there next to Ohtani. He finished second in the National League. Did a hell of a job. But are you banking on him being able to do that again next year? I don't know if I can. You have to wait and see what's out there. But, again, we appreciate you tuning into our program. We're going to have another live show on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And we'll have even more information for you. We're going to talk about a variety of different things. Not enough clutch players in postseason. Absolutely. You watch the Yankees, you watch the Dodgers, and even watch the Mets. I mean, Mets scored a lot of runs. They just couldn't slow anybody down against the Dodgers. But you got to keep the line moving. Those guys down in the bottom of the order, the 7, 8, 9 guys, you got to occasionally get on base. When you turn it over, your 1, 2, 3 guys, have some guys to hit with on base. And again, Arise didn't swing the bat well. Fernando didn't swing the bat well against the Dodgers. I mean, in the postseason, he was great. He was good in those first couple of games. But, at the end of the day, God, poor Machado. Oh, Man, he had a rough offseason going against that. In fact, looking at those numbers, I'm trying to find. I got so many numbers. I keep tracking all this stuff. Manny just had a rough go in the postseason. Just couldn't get it going, and looked very, very frustrated. That last game against the Dodgers, he looked very, very frustrated. And Luis Ariz had left thumb surgery last week. He'll be better. He's not going to hit with a lot of power. I mean, maybe hit a few more doubles next year. But the guy, give him credit. I mean, he had a torn ligament in his thumb, and he played the last 3 months of the season with it. Big Time Brew. Who do you think the Padres will replace Joe with in the rotation? Not sure that guy's here yet. We'll have to wait and see. You got internal options, Matt Waldron, Randy Vasquez, who they talked about. We'll have to wait and see on that. But they'll come up with a guy, Martin Perez, if he's affordable, they could bring him back. So I appreciate that, Big Time Brew. Good job on that. All right, we're going to close it out again. We'll have a show on Wednesday morning, right around 10 o'clock. And again, always a lot of comments on our YouTube page. I very much appreciate that. Again, you can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera and on X at Coach Kentera 44. And boy, I'll tell you what, now that the Padres are over, I got to think about, doing other things. But the NBA starts on Tuesday night. My Lakers. I've been following the Lakers since 1965, 66 as a 7-year-old boy. They open up on Tuesday night, so I'll get my Laker face on and be ready to roll. And whenever baseball's over, it rolls right into Laker basketball. And you know what? I enjoy basketball. I enjoy the NBA, but I don't love the NBA like a lot of people do. But I love the Lakers. And I try not to miss any of those games. And so we'll talk a little bit about how the Lakers did in their first game on Wednesday. They open up tomorrow night at crypto.com. Bronny James, LeBron James, the whole crew against the Minnesota Timberwolves. A very, very good team with Anthony Edwards and Michael Conley. They got a heck of a ball club. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but we're going to be focused a lot on the Padres. We're going to talk a little Aztec football on Wednesday. And again, we'll be on right around 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Hope you enjoyed the program. Again, you can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera and on X at Coach Kentera 44. And tell a friend. A lot of people I haven't heard about the John Kentera Show on YouTube, San Diego Sports Talk. Tell a friend, and we'll enjoy this party all together. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.